This is a story how our challenges in the past have affected our future. For decades, we've been fighting for better flood control, public safety, and while other communities are talking about improving their levees, we've already done so. We didn't take the conventional approach, but then again, rarely does the conventional approach result in such dramatic changes.
Water. It's an essential element for everything in life and is a critical resource affecting all of us, whether we live in the city or the country. Water provides the means for California to have some of the most productive farmland on Earth, with crops making their way to markets and dinner tables around the world. In addition, urban residents depend on water resources to support communities and their economies. Early settlers and gold rush prospectors constructed levees to control water that flowed into California's Yuba County along the Bear, Feather, and Yuba rivers. The levees made possible the expansion of farming operations and the harnessing of water resources for development. But there's another side to the story of water and water resources in Yuba County. From the earliest days, large floods devastated farmlands and more densely populated urban areas. As more and more people moved into areas bordered by levees, the more devastating the consequences of a levee break and flood.
Trees and things would wind up being damaged from floods, and then people, being an agricultural community, would go back to work. But as people developed and more and more people were residing here and maybe commuting to Sacramento, to Chico, to other places for employment, all of a sudden there's kind of a change in the demographics of the community. So the ability to recover is much more difficult when it's not a farm labor community anymore.
As Yuba County moved through the 20th century, it became apparent that controlling floodwaters would be critical to the economic well-being of the community and its residents. A devastating 1955 flood along the Feather River prompted the creation of the Yuba County Water Agency and the ultimate construction of Bullard's Bar Dam on the Yuba River, providing a flood control reservoir, a water storage resource, and hydroelectric power. In 1986, a levee failure on the Yuba River flooded more than 10,000 acres. And in 1997, a levee break on the Feather River forced tens of thousands to flee their homes as 16,000 acres were flooded. More than 13,000 homes were damaged.
It affected almost every single life, whether your house was inundated by floodwater, or it was just one of your family members, or one of your close friends or co-workers. Somehow everybody got touched by each of those floods.
My son lost his home, my daughter, my niece, both of my sister-in-laws, and myself. We basically all lost everything. It's still upsetting when you think of that first time that you see everything gone.
One-story homes had water up to their eaves. My particular home had water 2.5 feet high in the second floor. And anybody that was at an elevation of 60 feet or lower, it got flooded.
It's estimated that the floods of 1986 and 1997 did close to $650 million in damage. The floods decimated farmland and forced businesses to close, including a large mall with more than 50 stores. The floods destroyed homes and adversely impacted the economic well-being of the entire county.
3 people died as a result of that flood, so that's certainly a huge impact. Not counting the loss of property and the damage, the long-term damage. The recovery from floods is not measured in years, it's measured probably in decades.
Following the 1986 flood, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers worked with the state of California and the Yuba County Water Agency to repair levees in the area. This work was known as the Levee Systems Evaluation Project. Even after the 1997 levee failures, the Army Corps of Engineers concluded that repairs being made under the Levee Systems Evaluation Project would provide the needed flood protection. That news prompted Yuba County leaders in 2002 to allow the first of a planned 12,000 homes to be built in the Plumas Lake area.
We've got the world's largest real estate boom on record, and we're in the midst of it. We're growing leaps and bounds. The percentage of growth in Yuba County was one of the highest in the nation. So that probably is one of the highest in the world, if you think about it.
About the same time, the California Department of Water Resources and the Army Corps of Engineers began reevaluating the ability of levees to withstand a 100-year flood event. That is, a flood that has just a 1% chance of happening in any given year. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, places development restrictions and flood insurance requirements on communities that are protected by levees but don't have 100-year flood protection. The preliminary results of that study, released in 2003, identified several problems in levees along the Bear River and the Western Pacific Interceptor Canal, problems that would likely prevent them from withstanding a 100-year flood event. Since the earlier Corps study had not recommended any improvements for these levees to provide the 100-year level of protection, the preliminary results in 2003 were a major blow to Yuba County.
We had a huge number of developers out there who brought these projects and put in the infrastructure and started to do the work, and then suddenly found out if they didn't get the levees done, their projects were worthless, the houses they built were worthless.
The state wanted to shut it down, the whole project down. But here's builders going in motion, and then they found out that there's a serious levee problem, which they didn't know. And they found out that whether you like the builders or not, there were 25,000 people already living out here that were at risk. So that the levees need to be fixed whether you let the builders continue or not.
Faced with the potential of shutting down development, as well as risking the safety of thousands of existing residents, Yuba County and Reclamation District 784 created the Three Rivers Levee Improvement Authority in 2004, setting in motion a bold project to quickly improve the levees protecting South Yuba County. It was a plan that would touch the lives of more than 40,000 residents in the South Yuba County area of Plumas Lake, Linda, and Olivehurst.
I didn't know at the time that local governments didn't do these type of infrastructure jobs. This was a state and federal project. So we really were out there kind of testing the waters with the consultants and finding the best, the best attorneys, the best environmental people, the best construction people, the best engineers. We went out and we sought out the best.
The Three Rivers Levee Improvement Authority began work with an initial three-phase program. The project was estimated to cost $65 million to fix problems along the Yuba and Bear Rivers, as well as the Western Pacific Interceptor Canal. In 2005, however, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the state of California released a final reevaluation report, which found major portions of the Feather River and Yuba River levees to be deficient. That led Three Rivers to add a fourth phase to the program at significant cost. The Three Rivers project would rebuild, renovate, and strengthen levees along all of those waterways. Thousands of residential structures would be protected by the improvements. Moving millions of cubic feet of earth and utilizing state-of-the-art engineering design and construction techniques, the Three Rivers project would ultimately improve 29 miles of levees at a cost of more than $400 million.
The community has been very supportive. Everyone that lived in Yuba County was painfully aware of the devastation that can happen from inadequately crafted levees.
To better understand the project, let's give you a look at how levee protection works. As rivers rise from upstream flooding, snow melts, or heavy rains, protective levee barriers are tested. As waters raise up against the levee embankment, they push against and sometimes through weakened areas, or crest over the top. At the same time, underseepage can prompt failures as well, by causing levees to collapse, a significant factor in the 1997 Feather River levee break. Adding height to the levees helps increase the river channel water capacity and prevent overtopping, but it is seldom used in Northern California because of the potential impact of allowing more water to flow downstream, overcoming levees protecting other communities. But addressing the seepage problems often requires other approaches, depending on soil composition and landforms. For some levees, a cut-off slurry wall is one option. Digging deep into and beneath the levee, A trench is filled with a soil bentonite slurry, an absorbent clay mixture that acts as a barrier to seepage through the soil. Other solutions include water blankets, water-blocking clay surfaces on the levee itself, relief wells to redirect and relieve under-seepage water pressure during high river stages, and seepage berms that reduce seepage water damage by slowing down water flow and force, directing it away from the levee.